first time Patricia Hendris showed up at my door, she had a clipboard, a forced smile, and an attitude that could short-circuit a transformer. "Mr. Lopez," she said, squinting at the LED lights along my porch. "These violate HOA brightness regulations. You'll need to remove them immediately, or face a fine." I almost laughed. Those lights weren't just decoration. They were city-approved, energy-efficient prototypes I'd installed myself for testing. After all, I was the senior electrician for the city utilities department. Still, I kept calm. "They're compliant, Patricia. Approved by city standards," she smirked. "City standards don't apply here. The HOA runs this neighborhood." That's when I realized what I was dealing with. The kind of HOA president who thought a rule book made her a queen. Over the next few days, I noticed her patrol car creeping by my house, measuring tape in hand, jotting down notes, sometimes even snapping pictures at night. I figured she'd get bored once she saw everything was legal. But Karen, Patricia, didn't operate on logic. A week later, a letter arrived. $500 fine for non-compliant exterior lighting, and a line that made my blood boil. Failure to comply may result in further disciplinary action. That night, I decided to play her game, but on my terms. I checked the HOA's bylaws, cross-referenced them with city ordinances, and discovered something Patricia clearly hadn't. Every single regulation about lighting was invalid under municipal code. HOA rules can't override city safety standards. So I got creative. I replaced my lights with programmable LED strips, brighter, smarter, and perfectly within code. Then I waited. The next evening, Patricia came storming down my driveway, waving her clipboard like a weapon. "Mr. Lopez, these lights are even brighter. You're mocking the HOA." I smiled. "No, Patricia. I'm testing the new safety lighting the city plans to roll out. You'll be seeing these on every street soon." She froze, her smugness flickering like a bad bulb. You work for the city?" "Senior electrician," I said, showing my badge. "Technically, I approve lights like these." Her jaw dropped. I thought that'd be the end of it. I was wrong, because the next day, Patricia decided to escalate, and she made one fatal mistake. She tried to shut off power to my home, and that's when things got electric. I came home from a late shift to find my house pitch black. The porch lights were dead, the fridge silent, even the backup generator disconnected. At first, I thought it was a local outage, until I saw a bright orange lockbox on my meter. A handwritten tag read, "Power disabled for HOA non-compliance. Patricia Hendris, HOA president." That's when I knew she'd crossed a serious line. HOA presidents don't have any authority to touch power equipment, ever. What she'd done wasn't just illegal, it was dangerous. I flicked on my work flashlight and crouched by the meter. Sure enough, she'd pried open the city seal, jammed a lock onto the main disconnect, and even left scratches on the conduit. Amateur hour? The next morning, I marched to the HOA office. Patricia was inside, sipping coffee and gossiping with 2 other board members. When she saw me, her smirk returned like she'd won something. "Mr. Lopez," she said sweetly, "I see you noticed your power's been cut. Perhaps next time you'll respect HOA authority." I placed the broken city seal on her desk. "That seal you tampered with? That's federal property. Interfering with it's a crime under state and municipal code." The color drained from her face for a second before she recovered. "We have community standards, Mr. Lopez. I was enforcing them." I leaned forward, lowering my voice. "Patricia, you didn't just break a rule, you tampered with a regulated power meter. If I report this, you'll be facing charges, not complaints." Her tone sharpened. "Are you threatening me?" "No," I said. "I'm giving you a chance to fix it before the city gets involved." But instead of backing down, she doubled down. That night, she sent out a community-wide email accusing me of endangering neighbors with unsafe electrical installations. I became the talk of the subdivision overnight. Half believed her, half didn't. So I did what any professional would. I brought receipts. Literally. The next morning, I printed the city inspection reports, approval letters, and my ID, then called for an official inspection. Public, recorded, and by the book. The city inspector, my colleague and friend, showed up the next day. He documented everything Patricia had done, every illegal lock, every violation. Patricia stood on her porch, arms folded, fuming as she realized she wasn't in control anymore. And when the inspector told her she'd be receiving a legal notice for tampering with city equipment, her expression turned from arrogance to panic. But she still wasn't finished. She had one more stunt up her sleeve, and this one nearly got someone hurt. 2 days after the inspection, things went eerily quiet. No more emails, no more notes taped to my door. I thought maybe Patricia had finally learned her lesson. But quiet isn't peace, it's planning. That Friday night, I was in my garage repairing a fuse box when I heard a loud crack outside. Not the kind of crack you ignore, the kind that sounds like arcing electricity. I rushed out and saw smoke curling from the transformer near my driveway. Someone had tried to tamper with it. Again, I killed the power to the block within seconds. It was instinct. If I hadn't, that transformer could have exploded. When I looked closer, I saw the lock had been forced open. Wires ripped and a metal rod jammed inside. And then I spotted the flashlight, lying in the grass, with the initials PH written in marker on the handle. My stomach dropped. Patricia had actually tried to sabotage a live transformer. Within minutes, I was on the phone with the police and the utilities department. I didn't even need to explain much. Tampering with electrical infrastructure is a felony, plain and simple. When the patrol car pulled up to her house, I watched from across the street. Patricia came out in her bathrobe, still trying to act indignant. "I don't know what you're talking about. I was just checking on the lighting issue," she told the officer. The cop, a friend from my department, looked at her with disbelief. "Ma'am, you broke into a live city transformer. You could have killed someone," she stammered. I thought it was a neighborhood device. We manage our own street utilities." That line actually made one of the officers laugh. "Ma'am," he said, "the HOA doesn't manage anything connected to city power." They didn't arrest her that night, but they did file an official report. I knew an investigation would follow. And when it did, Patricia's paper trail would light up brighter than my porch LEDs. Still, I couldn't shake the thought. She could have killed herself or someone else. This had gone way beyond fines or petty rules. She was reckless, desperate, and dangerous. The next day, the entire neighborhood was buzzing. Half the residents were furious at her. The other half quietly distanced themselves. I started getting messages from people saying, "We didn't know she'd gone this far." Patricia had finally burned her own reputation, but not before one last desperate act. Because when the city came to investigate, she tried to blame me, and that's when I decided to end her little reign for good. By Monday morning, Patricia had gone full damage control. She plastered flyers around the neighborhood accusing me of staging the transformer incident to get her removed as HOA president. The woman had lost it. But while she was busy printing lies, I was preparing the truth. That afternoon, the city's electrical safety division and the police returned for a follow-up. I was ready with documentation, metered tampering photos, inspection logs, and even the flashlight with her initials. Everything was time-stamped and sealed. They knocked on her door first. I stayed across the street, watching as Patricia tried her usual act, arms crossed, self-righteous tone, accusing everyone of conspiracies. But when the inspector held up her flashlight, her face drained of color. "You're saying this was found at the transformer?" she asked, voice trembling. "That's correct," the officer said. "We're here to collect a statement. You've been warned before about unauthorized access to utility property." Her words started tumbling out, half excuses, half anger. "He's been provoking me. Those lights, those blinding, illegal lights. He thinks he can defy HOA rules." The officer cut her off. "Ma'am, city code overrides HOA guidelines. He's not the one in violation. You are." It was over right there. Patricia didn't get arrested that day. But the HOA board held an emergency meeting that evening. Word spread faster than current through a copper line. By nightfall, the neighborhood gathered outside the clubhouse. murmuring as the board announced her suspension pending investigation. Patricia tried to defend herself. One last time, claimed she was protecting the community. Aesthetic. But nobody was buying it. When the board voted 6-1 to remove her from the presidency, she slammed her clipboard, stormed out, and peeled off down the street. The next morning, I flipped the switch and watched my porch lights glow again. Steady, warm, and completely within code. For the first time in months, no one complained. A week later, the city sent a formal notice, declaring her permanently barred from touching any electrical or utility infrastructure. She was fined, publicly reprimanded, and, ironically, forced to install the same LED lights she once tried to ban. As for me, the neighbors started coming by for help fixing their own wiring or upgrading their homes. My lights became a symbol, not of defiance, but of standing up to overreach. Sometimes justice doesn't need drama. It just needs the right voltage. Patricia still drives by sometimes, glaring at my house, but she never says a word, because now she knows, when it comes to electricity and rules, I'm the one who writes the code. If you enjoyed watching Karen get a taste of her own rules, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe for more wild HOA stories, and drop a comment telling me your craziest neighbor experience.